The play begins with three witches stirring up some trouble on the beaches of... Then we meet Duncan the king, who's on a big military campaign. Turns out Macbeth and his best friend Banquo are generals who have just defeated two opposing armies. On their way back to camp, Macbeth and Banquo come across the witches, who can see the future, and tell Macbeth that he's going to be Thane of Glamis and Thane of Cawdor. No big deal, until they tell him he will also become king. Macbeth doesn't believe it, and Banquo, well, he's kinda ticked. Turns out the witches are on the right track, and Duncan's men show up to announce that because of his military success, Macbeth is now both Thane of Glamis and Cawdor. Curious as to whether the rest of the prophecy might come true, Macbeth invites Duncan to dinner, then writes to his wife to tell her what happened. Lady Macbeth figures it's time to make their own luck, and suggests they kill the king and take the throne as their own. When everyone's in bed that night, Macbeth goes kinda crazy, and starts to see things like floating daggers around his castle. Nevertheless, he stabs Duncan and frames the guards for the murder, then kills them later in a false rage. Duncan's sons flee out of fear, and Macbeth becomes king, but he's not very well liked. Fearing Banquo will take over the crown, Macbeth arranges to have him and his sons killed, but is then haunted by Banquo's ghost. Lady Macbeth is haunted too, but not by a ghost. She keeps seeing blood on her hands and becomes pretty anal retentive about trying to wash them clean. Macbeth is starting to panic and goes to see the witches, who give him a bunch of false reassurances about his kingdom. He can't be harmed by any man born of woman, or until Birnam Wood up and moves. Macbeth thinks that means he's safe forever, but it turns out Macduff, Duncan's son who's been hiding, was born through a C-section and not technically by a woman. He plans to attack the kingdom and disguises his army with branches from Birnam Wood. Thus to the watchman on the castle it looks like the forest up and moved. As the battle rages, Lady Macbeth really freaks and kills herself. Macbeth realizes he is doomed, but continues to fight until Macduff beheads him. The battle ceases, and the benevolent Macduff invites everybody to Scone to watch his coronation, and, well, some of them then live happily ever after. The end.